Hello guys, this video should be the last one I make specifically on Joseph Prince, the false teacher. I would call it, a brief biography of Joseph Prince. And why do I do that? Because you see, Joseph Prince and his life and his teaching after he passed away, people read his book will quickly see it holds not much water, because the teaching only becomes attractive when a man in his nice apparel and a smooth talk on the stage and his doing well ministry shows. So his teaching will not be attractive to any serious reader when his personal presence is removed from the stage, if you know what I'm saying. Another thing is, if you guys truly believe, any of you truly believe Joseph Prince is a great teacher of true grace, so-called revolutionary in this time for the kingdom of God, let me ask you, since your life is so greatly impacted, have you ever planned to write a biography for him, just like Luke did for Paul? Not really for Paul, but once Luke started writing on the church history, his attention was quickly diverted to this person only, Paul, because Paul's life was so radically transformed. Now, so I'm doing this for your benefit, on your behalf, to give you a short biography of Joseph Prince, the man, the preacher, the false teacher. See whether, it is a biography you would like to see for a true pastor. Joseph Prince was excommunicated from a church somewhere, Passaparjang, I think in his late teens or early 20s, together with his group of friends, Harry Yo, Joshua Lee, and others maybe. And why the excommunication? Why couldn't they stay on and discuss with the pastor? As I said, Joseph Prince have never made effort to listen to Paul's advice to the Christians in all his episodes. He nearly totally neglected all the advice Paul gave to Timothy regarding appointing leaders to the church, how to use money, how a leader should live. Second point is, Joseph Prince was a salesperson. You read Wikipedia, he said he's an IT consultant, but I clearly remember, what he shared in sermons when I was there, that he was doing sales and he was doing exceedingly well. And the office was, his company office was at somewhere at a McKinsey, where the New Christian Church first was there. New Christian Church was there after, but the place was Joseph Prince's workplace, before that. And he was doing so well. He said, when you join a company, don't look at all other features, but see whether you can prosper there, right? He was talking about, when he first came to the workplace, he need to change the light bulb himself, but God prospered. According to him, God prospered him. Anyway, this group of friends they formed a church somehow. And Henry Yeo was the senior pastor before 1990. And in the year 1990, Joseph Prince was somehow appointed as a senior pastor for the church. And he was 27 years old. Now, many of you may think, what's wrong with that? There are so many young CEOs, successful young entrepreneurs in the world. Nothing wrong with that. That's the world, but not in the church of God. Paul clearly advised, for the church not to appoint any young believers to be leaders, because the devil is lurking to trap the leader, because once the leader is deceived, the whole congregation will follow suit. So let's, examine our own life. When you and I were 27 years old, what were we talking about, thinking about, fearing? Were we fearing how a soul is lost? Were we thinking about how to transform our lives? Or were we thinking about how to make more money, make a name for us in the workplace, and how to have, opposite sex attention? As I said, all those are natural, normal part of being a youth. But it has to be managed before such a youth can be appointed a senior pastor of a church. Now you may ask, maybe he has a unique calling to be a pastor, look after the flock of God. Or maybe one of the other reasons which attracted me to his service was that Joseph Prince seems to have a real care for believers whose feelings are hurt, whose feelings are hurt at other pastors. One example he used is, a young couple had a miscarriage, and they were attending another church. A leader of that church told the young couple, "You have sin in your life." Joseph Prince was so indignant, say that's not God. Well, I'm not sure about, whether that pastor was doing the right thing. Probably, the pastor has some knowledge, but I don't know. But Joseph Prince did have a caring for the believers, at least for their feelings. That is what attracted me. One of the reasons I stayed on in New Christian Church, because I saw this young man preaching and really look after the sheep. But I can tell you, over the years, even that slight care for believers' feeling also has vanished. Today he has no problem leashing out disparaging remarks towards believers who are not doing well, who are opposing his views. This man is insubordinate in his previous church, in the Christian community, even today, or even more so today. So has he changed over the years? Yes, he changed, I think, but only from bad to worse. He remains as a man pleaser. Just told you he was a salesperson. He was very successful. And after becoming a pastor, he's even more successful, I can tell you. He's now worldly renowned salesperson of false gospel. You guys think, you are in his heart as a sheep. Let me quote what he said about church. In many times, during my time, Joseph Prince said, you look at this church, more people are attending, that's quantity. And the more percentage of people are tithing, giving money to church, and that is quality. So you get the idea, what the church should be and is like. in his eyes, in his mind, in his heart. You guys are just number to him. And let's say, that's okay. But let's look at how the church is spending the money. Any of you who are attending New Christian Church now have an idea how the church is spending the money, how many percent goes to mission, how many percent goes to the poor, how many percent goes to salary and maintaining the building or whatever. Do they release an annual financial book? After I left New Christian Church, I went to a small Chinese church. They also have this tithing envelope, but they didn't really preach strongly on that. But there's one thing that, really looking back now, it's quite, it's also a, waking moment for me. That small church, at the end of the year, they give a report asking all the believers to sit in the meeting. The pastor, the council will give every dollar and cent is accounted for. How many of you have such knowledge of New Creation Church's money? In my open letter to Joseph Prince a few days ago, which has hit more than 1 million hits right now, and no one is yet to contact me because to them, I'm the troublemaker. They just rest in finished work of Jesus Christ. Not even one pastor, not even one sister, brother whom I know have ever contacted me. Or maybe the audience are all overseas. Maybe that's the case. Let's be positive about this church and its members. How about other pastors in the church, so-called the church councils? What made them think that, giving Joseph Prince a $500,000 salary is the right thing? What are they thinking? What is in their mind? Do they see him really see him as a CEO? Really see him as the very reason people attend church? Or do they see him as the true shepherd of God? Or do they also want something like Joseph Prince's life? Guys, when I read the Bible again and again, the church is not a place. The church is a community where the poor can be taken care of. The truth can be speaking out without fear. And believers can sit together, taking turns to speak up and edify each other. And if the first person, or at most two, are speaking, the third person has a message, the first two should stop. But you look at not only New Christian Church, but many churches today. Are we practicing that? Or have we given all the authority, all the duty, all the labor to read the Bible, interpreting the Bible to the pastors? And you look at what they preach on Sundays. They preach something everyone can get from books. I can tell you many of them are not preaching any real life message from the throne room of God. They are also just selling some good knowledge, word of God for profit. You don't need to go to those kind of church to know God. You can know Him in your living room, in your study. So back to the true church. The true church is the church where I see in the Bible, believers are truly equal, free to speak up, and where apostles really have the authority. not to bully them, not to get money from them, but to declare the truth to the hearers. That's my sharing on Joseph Prince. As I say, this is the last video I make, and I hope you have patience to finish watching. If you see what I see and you want to ponder, I'm sure God will open your eyes to see that this man is a false teacher. He doesn't care about the flock. Thank you for watching.